In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 German cities that I think are underrated to visit. I hope you enjoy it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 5 German cities that I find underrated. A lot of people when coming to visit Germany skip these cities in favor of the big 3, Hamburg, Munich, and Berlin. Now I understand if you only have a limited amount of time, you want to hit the highlights, you want to hit those big cities. I get that. But if you have the time, you really need to check out some of these smaller cities because I find them amazing. And the cities that I'm going to talk about today are 5 cities that I think are underrated that you should add to your itinerary if you have the time. Now these cities are not really in any kind of order, but I do have a number 1 with the bullet most underrated city. And we'll get to that in due course. But let's start off with Bamberg. Now Bamberg is unique in Germany because it wasn't bombed during World War II. This means that the UNESCO World Heritage Designated City Center is original and not reconstructed like many sites in Germany. Cobblestone streets and medieval buildings are around every turn. A massive cathedral dominates the skyline, and a rose garden offers views of the monastery and castle on the hill. The river runs through the city with the Altes Rathaus in the middle of a bridge. There are definitely some highlights to visiting Bamberg, including the Bamberger Dome. The dome was founded in the year 1004, burned down both in the 11th and 12th centuries, and the current structure was finally completed in the 13th century. It towers over the Altstadt and holds the tombs of Emperor Henry II and Pope Clement II. It's the only papal burial ground north of the Alps. Look for the statue of the Bamberger Reiter from the early 1200s, which serves as a symbol of the city. From the Altes Rathaus on the bridge, you can see the Klein Venedig, or the Little Venice section of Bamberg. This fisherman's district encapsulates the charm of the town with a row of colorful 14th to 17th century half-timbered houses. Walk the crowded waterfront that serves as the stage for the yearly Sandkerve festival in August. Now when you're in Bamberg, you have to make sure to try the local beer specialty known as Rauchbier. The city is known for its independent breweries and its unique Rauchbier. Now Rauchbier is unique because the malt is roasted over an open beechwood fire, which gives the beer a real smokiness to it. It sometimes almost tastes like drinking bacon. It can be really good or it can be really overpowering. It just depends on where you get it. In my humble opinion, I would suggest trying all 9 breweries and making the decision for yourself. Now the next underrated city, in my opinion, is Dresden. Although it was almost completely destroyed in World War II, the city was largely ignored during the communist regime, and it has been resurrected and made a great comeback. The reconstruction reflects the original magnificence travelers would have enjoyed in the Saxony capital 100 years ago, while offering some new attractions worth visiting, like open-air breweries reached by historic steamboats. Now the city is often referred to as the Florence on the Elbe because of its location on the banks of the Elbe River near the Czech border. Like Florence, Dresden is filled with culture. Renaissance, Baroque, and neoclassical architecture await on every corner, and it's home to an inequitable amount of Germany's artistic treasures. Zwinger Palace, Gemäldegalerie Alte Meister, Grünes Gewölbe, and Albertinum all offer a peek. Visitors should plan a visit to one of Dresden's many historic concert halls, like the Semperoper Opera House. Churches like the pink and white Frauenkirche and Italian-style Dresden Cathedral demand attention as well. If the bombastic beauty of the Altstadt gets overwhelming, head to the nitty-gritty Neustadt, which offers street art and a more lively night scene. In my opinion, the 3rd most underrated city in Germany is Leipzig. Leipzig is definitely up and coming, and I don't know that it will be considered underrated for much longer, but if you have a chance, you need to visit Leipzig. Leipzig, cry the papers. The new Berlin, says just about everybody. Leipzig is Saxony's coolest city, a playground for nomadic young creatives who have been displaced by the fast gentrifying German capital. But it's also a city of enormous history, a trade fair center, and solidly in the sights of music lovers due to its intrinsic connections to the lives and work of Bach, Mendelssohn, and Wagner. To this day, one of the world's top classical bands, the Gewandhausorchester, and oldest and finest boys' choirs, the 800-year-old Thomaner Chor, continue to delight audiences. When it comes to art, the neo-realistic New Leipzig school has stirred up the international art world post-reunification, with such protagonists as Neo Rausch and Thilo Baumgartel. Leipzig is known as the Stadt der Helden, or City of Heroes, for its leading role in the 1989 peaceful revolution that led to the reunification of Germany. Now, in my opinion, a fourth underrated city to visit in Germany is Nuremberg. Now, don't get me wrong, Nuremberg is by no means underrated, but I think it's so great that it's still underrated, even though it's well known. Nuremberg has a lot to offer, and you could easily spend several days just seeing the highlights of the city. Over a mile of the Nuremberg city wall still stands, as does the impressive castle. You'll also find a variety of medieval churches, cathedrals, and administrative buildings. The Tiergarten, or zoo, is a big hit with visiting families. Round out your trip by dining on some authentic grilled Nuremberger roast bratwurst and the sweet gingerbread cookies called Lebkuchen. Now, to me, the absolute number one most underrated city to visit in Germany is Trier. I think Trier is amazing. And I think everybody who visits Germany should definitely visit Trier. Trier is an amazing city on the banks of the Mosel River. It is the oldest city in Germany and was founded by the Celts in the late 4th century BC and conquered by the Romans 300 years later. Despite the fact that Trier is the oldest city in Germany and has 8 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, it is often overlooked by tourists, and I think that's a shame. Trier is the Rome of the North. The large number of preserved Roman monuments, including Porta Nigra, the amphitheater, and the Kaiserthermen, make Trier unparalleled north of the Alps for Roman sites.